All right, ladies, today we're doing something a little different. All right. I'm going to read a full Am I the Asshole post. And yes, I'm going to read the whole thing. This is from the wonderful world of Reddit. And I was minding my own business as always. And this came across my feed. And I thought we need to discuss this and I'm going to read the whole thing because the details matter. And then we're going to talk about the psychology behind what's really going on here, because that really matters too. Because we talk a lot about taking your power back, setting boundaries and saying no. And this is not to drag anyone. This is not to pick sides. If you are a woman over 40, I guarantee you that parts of this are going to feel uncomfortably familiar. So if you've ever been the family helper, the family fixer, the family's designated grown up, the one who always has gas, a full tank of gas, while the rest of the family is running on fumes, right? Because you have to have the full tank of gas to do everything, to be the fixer, right? And everyone else is chilling. Stay with me. Stay with me. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to read this post. Am I the asshole for expecting my sister to plan my wedding for free and demoting her to guest? I also told anyone who took her side I was not helping them anymore. That sounds like coercion already, but let's get into it. So she goes on to say, my fiance and I have a small accounting office. We do pretty well on account of both of us being bilingual, English and Spanish, and for me, and English and Ukrainian for him. About 10% of my business is family and friends of the family. I have taken barter for work more than you can imagine. All above board and documented. My aunt paid in empanadas one year. My uncle had his mom make us a huge batch of tamales. Even my dad has been helping my fiance fix up his truck. I've had to pick him up more than once because my mom stuffs him and my dad gets him loaded on aguardiente. I guess that must be some type of drink. Oh, I gotta check that out. Check that out. Look it up and drop it in the comments for me if you know what that is. Anyhow, let's continue. Everyone we have ever traded with has provided fair exchange. I have done my sister's accounting since she started her wedding planning company. Obviously, she has nothing to trade, so I have been doing it for free. First to help her get started, and now just because we fell into that rut. But now I'm getting married. I told everyone at dinner at my mom and dad's house. I asked her if she would plan my wedding and be my maid of honor. She said yes to maid of honor, but not to planning my wedding. I asked her why not, and she said I would need to pay for her services, that she can't do free stuff for family because she needs to make money at her job. She literally said it like I didn't know what a job was. So I talked to my fiance and then to my parents. We told my sister that she would be getting an invitation, but that she was no longer in the wedding party. I also gave her all her files for the year on a USB drive. I said she needed to take her business elsewhere. My mom and dad told her that I was right and that they were disappointed that she wanted to make money off me after everything I did to help her. She went to social media to complain, and a few people took her side, which is fair. I don't expect everyone to see my point, but then a few started contacting me. I listened and then asked them if I should continue working for her for free. Most said no. A few said family helps family. If I did their taxes, I told them I was not doing them this year or in the future. They tried to backpedal, but I held strong. My sister says she won't come. I told her to RSVP no. She said she wasn't thinking when she said no. Not my problem. She has 2 months to get an accountant. Let that sit for a minute. Let that sit in. Right? So she had a whole barter system going with people. She was getting tamales for what? Tamales for her services, for her accounting services, right? Kind of crazy. Okay. So we're just going to take a deep breath, because this is one of those posts where the internet immediately wants to ask, is the sister jealous? Is this karma? Who's the bad guy, right? Because right now you're going through your mind and you're saying, oh, the sister shouldn't have asked her, or she should have just done it, right? But those are the least interesting questions here, all right? Based on what we're talking about. The real question here is what happens when families' human safety net finally hears the word no. Right? The sister didn't stutter. She just said, no, I need to get paid for my work, right? That's what she said. And she probably does need to get paid for her work. Maybe she can't pay her rent if she doesn't get paid for her work, right? There's a lot going on here. But I want to get into the psychology of this. This family has a very clear dynamic. Even if it was never spoken out loud. Like everyone's playing the role. There's a helper, there's a fixer, and there's a problem solver, right? I think you've heard me talk about those before. Which one are you? If you're here, you're probably the problem solver, the fixer, and the helper. The one who doesn't charge. The one who makes life easier for everyone else, right? And that's the sister here, the one that's getting married. That's her. And when you live in that role long enough, your generosity stops being a gift and starts being an expectation, right? The sister didn't think anything about her sister doing her taxes for her, right? She just did them. And then she said, I just got in a rut and I just kept doing them after I helped her out at the beginning. So your flexibility isn't seen as kindness anymore. It's seen as an obligation. All right? That whole barter culture that they talked about at the beginning, it sounds really warm and fuzzy, right? Empanadas and tamales. But psychologically, it's like a company store where the operating, right? The person who's operating that company store, where their professional skills were the only currency that had no value. It trained everyone to believe your labor is a hobby, ours is real. So now they can barter for it, right? They don't have to pay for it. It's just a hobby. But the labor is real. The work she's doing is real, right? That's not generosity. That's role locking. They locked her into that role for years on years. She was rewarded for that role by her parents, by everyone else. And, she just continued doing it. Because who is she if she's not doing that? And that's where a lot of us are, right? And so this part here is crucial, right? I'm going to say this because it's very crucial. There's no jealousy here. What the sister actually did was draw a perfect boundary. The other sister, the one that many of you might be thinking, well, why didn't she just do it? Think of it like a garden fence, not a brick wall. She said yes to the emotional support. She said, I want to be there for the wedding. That's the part, being a maid of honor. That's leaving the gate open for the relationship. But she said no to the unpaid professional labor. She drew a boundary. That's the fence protecting her livelihood. This is what she does for work. This is how she gets paid. We shouldn't expect people to labor for free. But her family has been doing this for years. Her saying, I need to make money at my job wasn't a dig. It really wasn't. It was a declaration of self-preservation. Because who doesn't need to get paid for their job? And just because you own your own business doesn't mean that you have to do it for free or you have to barter for the work. or that you need to barter away. But here's why it detonated the situation, like a big bomb went off, right? It held up a mirror to the truth that the sister who's getting married didn't want to see. She has been letting people trample all over her own garden for years, right? Bartering for her accounting services, tamales, enchiladas, whatever it is they were serving up, drinks, fixing the truck. So let's name what really caused this explosion. It wasn't the wedding planning. It was entitlement shock. Because in her mind, in the sister's mind, there was a ghost ledger with years of transactions, right? She's been doing all this work. She's been doing the taxes for free. Nobody told her to, but she just kept doing it. She got in the ride. There was an expectation. Nobody cared because she kept doing it, and it was just expected. And there, and in her mind, she thought, I did your accounting for free. I helped you start your business. I gave and I gave and I gave. So when my turn comes, you owe me. But that ledger was a contract no one else ever saw, and no one else ever signed it. No one co-signed that. She created it in her mind, and then she ran with it, right? The sister didn't honor an agreement she never agreed to. And the reaction wasn't just disappointment, it was swift and total punishment. So now comes the punishment side of it, right? She demoted her because you're not going to do that. So I'm demoting you from the wedding party, firing you as a client publicly, and publicly demanding that the family members choose a side, because if they choose your side, I'm not helping them either. That's not setting a boundary. That's an attempt to control, disguised as righteous indignation and anger. That's not a boundary. That's a control tactic. It's a shaming tactic, right? It's gang stalking, getting everyone on board with her. This is where the story gets really familiar for a lot of women over 40. Very familiar. The parents immediately siding with the sister that's getting married tells us everything about this family's value system. Drop me a comment if you know what that is. They have been taught to reward self-sacrifice and over-functioning and being the good girl who never asks for anything. All the things we talk about. And they have been taught to punish sustainability, self-protection, and professionalism. Right? That professional self-worth. Who says that I should not get paid for the work that I do? Who says that you should not get paid for the work that you do? How did they get to decide that? The lesson they've taught their daughters is so freaking dangerous. Your value in the family is directly proportional to how much of yourself you're willing to give up. And that belief right there, that's the engine that drives decades of female burnout. That's why I brought this to you today. Because I'm sure a lot of us, the situation might be different, but a lot of us can recognize this in our families. Now, is this karma? Well, not in a mystical cosmic punishment sense, right? But yes, in a simple cause and effect sense. If you pull a rubber band for 10 years, you can't be surprised when it finally snaps, right? That rubber band eventually is going to snap. It's got a breaking point. Years of blurred boundaries inevitably lead to an explosion when one finally appears, when someone decides to say no. Unspoken expectations will always curdle into moral outrage. And resentment that was never processed comes out sideways as righteousness. Like, how dare you? I've done all of this for you and now you're not doing anything for me. But we didn't have a contract. We didn't sign a contract on that. And then you don't get to decide what it is that you think that I need to give you back. That's rational karma, not fate. These are patterns playing out, right? The overgiving person, right? The overfunctioning person, being the good girl, eventually you're worn out. So here's the truth that many of us learn the hard way. If your kindness comes with a silent invoice you plan to cash in later, it's not kindness. Oh no, it's not. It's just that sideways anger waiting to come out later, because you're collecting, you're tallying up a bill that nobody else knows about. So that's not kindness. It's a loan with an interest rate that nobody agreed to pay. So you got to stop doing that, right? Like, we have to stop doing that. And the idea of family helps family only works when that help can be freely given and freely declined, and never ever weaponized later. You don't do something for somebody and then later turn around and weaponize it. Oh, I did all of this for you and now look at what you're doing. If you didn't want to do it, then you should not have done it at all. Don't keep a tally that nobody else knows about and then expect someone to pay up. So the thing is that, no, this story is not about the wedding. It's about invisible labor, unspoken contracts, and the painful, messy, necessary awakening that happens when the strong one in the family finally meets a boundary she can't bulldoze. So the sister now couldn't bulldoze her. Like, the sister said no, the younger sister said no. She said, no, I can't do this for free, right? And the older sister, she got like smacked with that boundary in the face, and she didn't know what to do with it. So this is not about family helps family. This is about, this is the dysfunction this is the way our family dysfunctions, right? And a lot of families work this way. Well, drop me a comment if you see yourself, if you see parts of your family or anyone else, if you know anyone else that's dealing with anything like this, you can share with them, because if this made you uncomfortable, that's good. That means it's touching something real. Drop a comment if you've ever been the family fixer, or if you've ever had to unlearn a version of helping that was actually hurting you, and how that was received, right? How was it received when you said no? How was it received when you put up that boundary? Right? People are surprised. Somebody out there is keeping a tally that you know nothing about, and then you say no, and all of a sudden, the bomb goes off. If this is a conversation you need to be having, make sure you're subscribed, because this is exactly what Authentically Her After 40 is about here, right? And check out my Overfunctioning Mom series. It's out right now. We're not choosing sides here. We're not choosing sides. We're just choosing self, right? We're choosing self. We're choosing peace. And we're choosing kindness. I think kindness is great, right? But kindness there shouldn't be a tally. There shouldn't be a bill that you're holding on to collect on later if it's true kindness. All right? I love you, and hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I can't wait to see your comments.